Okay. All right. So let's first test whether things are working or not. So can everyone just type in chat box saying that everyone able to see my screen? Is it visible? Can we start? May I get the confirmation over the chat box? Yeah. And be promptful so that yeah, the concentration will be good. You will stick to the screen. Yes. Okay. Perfect. So today, definitely, there are a few ways that I will teach. One is through by writing through the keyboard. Also, I have a whiteboard where I can write and explain the things. Furthermore, if anyone wants to discuss anything in between the session, I can unmute the individual and they can talk about. But it's all on need basis. Okay. So we are learning Scala, and why we have started with Scala, why it has been asked for going with Scala, right? And the thing comes like Scala is a programming language, and there are tons of programming language, and why do we need this, right? So so as we know that mostly in the industry, especially if you are pursuing big data skills, you may heard a terminology like Spark Scala. And in any interview, if you go, people will ask, "Do you know Spark Scala?" Right? If anyone doesn't know like why and what is Scala, they don't have any idea. It is totally fine. We can go in details, and slowly you will grab a lot of things here. So about like learning, I think this will keep on going. People, sorry, yeah. So this is the first class, so maybe people will keep on joining, but from the next session onward, we will send a proper meeting link and invite so that I'll not go explicitly and accept the people. Okay, so Spark with Scala, that's the like most buzz around when we talk about big data, and like in the year 2014 onwards, we are seeing that people developers started adopting Spark in place of MapReduce, right? If you don't know what is MapReduce, it's totally fine, right? We will explore these things also in our another session, but it won't impact any of your learning in Scala. Okay. So Spark is a framework that we everyone knows, and if not, then try to understand that Spark is just a framework, and this framework gives you a set of libraries, right? And these libraries help in processing big amount of data, right? Big or humongous amount of data, right? Okay, so this is a framework, and this framework, our framework, is written in a Scala language. Okay, anyone knows that Spark framework internally written in Scala. So which language is used for 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 building Scala? Anyone has any idea? Okay, I have started the recording also, I think. Okay, so I got one response. It's Java. Okay, so and you know what? Scala is completely open source. So if you import this project in your any integrated development environment, you can see that all those codes are written in Java. And Java is written on which language? Anyone has any idea? I believe it's C. Okay, so this is somehow interrelated, but Spark can be written in Scala, okay, in Python, in R, even in Java also, right? So Spark can be written in like Scala, Python, R, Java. But when you go for any interview, or when major most of the time when you work in any project where you supposed to work on Spark, uh, people will ask you that, do you know Scala? Or mostly they will ask, do you know Python, right? it is quite relatable when you say that, okay, Spark is Scala, but why Python gained this much of popularity? Why people ask for PySpark, right? And the reason is because I believe most of the libraries in data science, like machine learning packages for building or training models, most of the things are written in Python. Okay, so that's the reason. If you want to build a seamless application where you want to keep a single language, let's say you want to just keep Python, and the same application can do model training, can perform feature extraction, right? So you don't want like multiple languages here, right? You want just one language is handling everything. So this Python has a lot of libraries available to handle your data science work and your data engineering work. Okay, and that's the reason Python gained popularity. But if your work is just to process the data, the big amount of data, and move it to some sync system like Hive, you're dumping your data to data lake, or sending it to Hive, or sending to any sync system, then Spark with Scala is fair enough. That's the reason these two languages gain a lot of popularity. Okay. And even most of the industry, people are like who started learning Spark, they even don't know that we can write our program in Java also. But why people, I mean developer, avoid using Java while using Spark framework? We will discuss about these things as well. Okay. So this class is not about only Scala language, right? Because Scala was founded by Mac. Scala was founded in the year 2004, right? But it gained popularity with Spark in the year 2014, right? So people use Scala for building their standalone application, but we will learn Scala in such a way so that we will find ourselves much comfortable in writing Spark code, right? So the Scala training is for writing a Spark application. Okay. So let's understand. Let's start this and let's go through each and every concept from right from the installation to each and every basic concepts of for creating data types, and understanding each and every syntax, and what kind of programming language it is, how different it is from Java or from any other programming or from Python. Okay. Meanwhile, anyone has any question? Anything? If you have any question, feel free to post in chat box. Okay. All right. So let's start with the installation. Okay. So this is the Scala documentation site where you will get, no, it's a Scala site where you can learn about Scala, you can download the Scala, and you can work on it. However, I'll not install or I'll not download Scala from this website, because my aim is to start to teach Scala for that we can use with Spark, right? So let's avoid this site and install from Spark. Let's install Spark instead of Scala. Okay. A lot of confusion among the keywords like what is Scala and Spark, but that will be clarified soon. Okay. So this is a documentation that I have created, and which will give you an overview of why we are reading Scala, what is its uses, and other thing, right? So as I said, like Scala began life in 2003, not in 2004, by Martin in Switzerland. And this is the documentation site that you can go through and understand. So what is Scala? Scala is easy to get into, but deep to get a grip on, right? Because you are very much comfortable in some programming language like Java or C, but you will see Scala, there are slightly a complex syntax, but once you will be used to those syntax, it's very easy to write, right? Scala is no different. It runs on Java virtual machine. If you know Java, it will be very comfortable for you to understand. If you do not know Java, then it's totally fine. You can raise question here and I will try to answer you. so that it will be helpful for you guys to understand the relationship between the Scala and Java and how those are related, right? Okay, let's understand through one example why we are focusing on Scala and not on Java. Okay, so let's say there is a program, and there's a very 2 3 lines of program. The program tells that there is a sentence, and you need to write a logic to find the occurrence of the word Scala, right? So if in interview you'll get this question, what you will do if you are a Java programmer or you're a uh, Python programmer. I'll not compare with Python, but if you are, let's say, Java programmer, then what you will do, there's a string given. You will see, okay, this is my string. Scala is a multi-paradigm language. Scala is scalable too, right? You will start with the initialization, which is count equal to 0. And then you will run a loop, and then you will print the statement. Okay, this is what you will do to to get the count or the occurrence of a word in a given sentence. But if the need is to if the same thing, if you want to achieve in Scala, you can achieve this with a single line of code, right? So don't worry if you are not, if you are unable to understand the syntax, it's totally fine. We didn't start anything. I haven't gone through any concept, so it's totally fine. Okay. So this is the string, like Scala is a multi-paradigm language. Scala is a scalable too, right? And we just need a single line of statement to get this work, whatever we can do in 5 6 lines. It's just a small example. However, after Java 8, Java is also focusing on function programming approach, making it quite similar to Python and Scala, but still it's far behind. Okay, so this is what you can see right here, that if you want to write a program, if someone asks you to write a Spark framework, or there is a use case, and you need to select language, you need to select between Scala and Python. It will never, the day will never come when you need to select between Scala, Python, or Java. So you can see there is a quite like it's very compact, right, and modular approach, and it's a fully object-oriented programming language. We'll get into those details as well. Okay, so let's say you have created a file. I'll go in a very basic word. Like, let's say you have created a file called like student.java. Okay, can someone help me? If I'll compile this, what will the file name that will be created? If we will compile this Java file, what we will get? If you know Java. Dot class. Okay. So if you compile this, you will get a dot class file. Okay. So it will be student dot class. Okay. Do you know that if you compile a Scala file, you will get student.class as well. So whether you write a Java program or whether you write a Scala program, at the end of the day, you're going to get dot class file, which is nothing but bytecodes, right? And these bytecodes are eventually sent to the Java virtual machine, right? No matter if you're writing a program in Scala, if you're writing a program in Python also, eventually for a Spark framework, everything will be converted to bytecodes and will run in JVM. So behind the scene, everything is a Java here. So why not to write a very compact program, and why we will write lines and lines of code, and can we avoid this by using another language, another modern programming language, which we can say Scala is one of them, right? So that's the reason developers started adopting Scala, which is if you are just a data engineer and your need is just to process few gigabytes of data, and do certain sort of transformation on it, some changes on it, and process it back to any sync system. Developer will find Scala much more comfortable in writing in instead of choosing Java. Okay. So let's see quite quick differences. Okay, the thing is why we are going into theory this much. The reason is when you go for an interview, no one will ask you immediately for few questions, right? They ask few kind of paragraph sentences and answers from you, right? So you should have some reason behind why you are doing this and why it is needed, right? So what's the difference? Why Scala versus Java? Let's understand this. The first thing is pure object oriented programming language, right? So what is object oriented programming language? If you have like software engineering basic fundamentals clear, then it's good. Otherwise, find some time today to understand what it is. Like if you can understand is in a very simple way that everything is a class and object. You create class and you create its object, right? In a very simple language. If you want to go in detail, you can go and read and understand, but everything is a class and object, right? Well, we do not call Java as a pure object-oriented programming language. And the reason is that we have certain primitive data type inside it. And what are the primitive data types? So primitive data types are like int, float, char, double, right? So these like 8 primitive data types that we have in Java, and due to the existence of those primitive data type, so the primitive data types are the data type which do not have any parent class, right? So that's the reason it's a different. It's not an object. Excuse me for this. Okay, so it's a primitive data type, whereas Scala is a completely pure object-oriented programming language. And what does it mean? Whatever you do, whatever you create, everything is either class or its subclasses, and you create object of it. There is nothing called as a primitive data type or any other thing. You can completely say that, okay, everything in Scala, whatever you write, is either a class or its object or its subclasses, right? So, okay. Operators. Operators are also a function. It sounds quite different, but it's true. So let's understand this here. Let's say in a Java or in any programming language, if you say int a is equal to 5 plus 3, okay, and the result is 8, that we know the result is 8, okay. So let's say it's Java and you say int a is equal to 5 plus 3, where you will say, okay, plus is an operator which does summation between two numbers, right? And can we write the same thing in Scala? Yes, you can write, let's say val. I'll explain this syntax, but yeah, for time being, you just say val a is equal to 5 plus 3. So here, plus is an operator, without a doubt. But if I tell what is plus here, is it an operator? No. Is it an operator? If it's an operator, then we cannot tell it as a fully object-oriented programming language. Is it an operator? No, it's not an operator. It's a function. Right? Sounds a little weird, but it's true. So is it a function? Can we just prove it? Can we prove this? Okay, we will prove this. So how we'll prove it? For that, let's do a Spark or a Scala installation in my system, and same you can go and install and can try it. Okay, so let me start with the Scala installation. Meanwhile, if anyone has any question, please let me know over the chat box. Meanwhile, I'll fetch the document for the installation. Okay, yeah, Santosh, you can put your question in a chat box. No, you're not allowed to unmute yourself. Please put your question in chat box.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said before, I'm not going to install Scala from its documentation side, going and installing it. No, what I'm going to do, I'm going to install Spark because Spark Scala terminal, because Spark is a framework, right? And eventually we need to utilize those libraries in some language. So why not? It's a Scala, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to download Spark, uh, and in that Spark, I will open the Scala terminal, which is provided in that package, and I'll use that. I'm not going to install Scala explicitly here. Okay, so let's go with the installation of Scala. Okay, it's not there. All right. Mm, I think. Hold on, guys. Okay, I think this document I didn't update, but not an issue. Okay, I will just ignore this. I'll try to explain you and I'll update it after the class. Okay, so if your plan is to learn multiple things, multiple tools, like today you're learning Spark, then Hive, or if you want to do some MapReduce programming or any other tool, just or HBase, whatever you want to learn, create a directory. Spark is just a data processing framework. There's no other use of it, right? It's just for data processing. But if you say Scala, so Scala is a programming language, right? So you can use it with Spark, or you can build your own a standalone application, just like Java, right? So in Scala, Scala is very famous for its multi-threading programming approach, where you provide the Akka framework, which provides an efficient implementation of multi-threading. If you want, if your application needs the multi-threading uh, regressively, then it's really needed, right? So I believe Spark is just a data processing framework, nothing more than that. Okay, so just today, when you go ahead and start installation, I would recommend you to first create a directory called as Spark, make a directory ecosystem, and in this ecosystem, you can put all your uh, the tools that whatever you are planning to learn, right? So today we are, let's say, learning Scala. You can create some folder called Scala or Spark. Okay, I believe I have created it. So yeah, so here I have my folder called ecosystem. Okay, and I have already installed it, but yeah, I can delete this and install it again for you. Okay. Mm. Okay. So either there are multiple ways where you can install this Spark. Wget is a command that you can run in Linux. So since I'm using Mac, if anyone is on Linux, and I would recommend to use either Mac or Linux for working on any big data things, or even practice also, because all the distributions, whether it's MapR or it's Cloudera, you will find that those gives Linux environment, right? So it's always good to have a Linux based system or a Mac. If you have a Mac, if you're using Mac, then either these or one of these. Or if it's Windows, then it's not a sin, but yeah, I mean, it's always advisable to work on Linux based system. All right, so we're going to install this. We are going to install this, and since it's an older version, I'm just couldn't get chance to update this one, but yeah. Okay, so this is a Spark documentation folder, download folder, right? And you will follow this link. I'll update this link, and then you go to Spark 3.0.3, right? Either you can click here, this one, Spark 3, Spark 3.0.3 bin Hadoop 2.7 tar GZ, or You can run curl command as well in your system. Since I've already downloaded it, so I'm not downloading it. You can either run wget, or what you can do, I can just click on this one and it will download it for me. Okay, so download started. Okay, so once you download it, once this zip file downloaded, what you can do, you need to untar it since it's tar.gz. So you need to untar this one. Okay, so the next step is like tar-xvf, and then you can untar this. In that way you can extract your zip folder. Once it's extracted, then it's ready to use. You can create a small link or shortcut of this one. It's up to you, or you can go inside this one. However, you can configure those things under the bash directory and can use shortcuts. But yeah, these things will be good if we working, if there is a Spark session, then it would be better to explain those things in detail. So I'll not go on those details, setting up your Spark based, shortcuts or Hadoop connectivity and other thing. We're just focusing on Scala. Okay, once you have downloaded it, put that downloaded zip file inside this folder ecosystem, extract it, and then inside it. Okay, so now under this folder, you will find these subfolders. Go to bin. Okay, so now you can see a lot of things. There is you can see there a PySpark is also there. Okay, but we want Scala. So in order to learn Scala, we just, if Spark is there, that would be more than sufficient. Okay, so before that, I want to show here that there is, you can notice that there's a PySpark, which is for Python Spark. There's a Spark R, which is for your R language. And then you have your Spark shell, which is Scala based Spark shell terminal, where we will run our all the Scala code or Spark code, whatever looking for. So these three are there, but you cannot find Java here, right? So you do not have any shell, command line prompt or shell prompt for Java, right? So it's only available for Python, for Scala, and for R only, right? Okay, so we'll start this. Okay, so few things to notice. I have installed the version Spark. Version is 3.0.3. It's fine. But underneath you can see that using Scala version 2.1210. And that's what our interest is, right? And you can see here it's Scala. It's telling also Scala. So apart from running all your Spark jobs or whatever you want to run here, you can run all your Scala command and everything here, right? So now we'll go back to our question that whether the operators are functions or not. Okay, we'll go back there. Okay, we stuck there, right? So we need to prove this. Int a is equal to 5 plus 3. Okay, looks good. Let's first run this piece of statement. You can see the result. If it is too small, let me know the font. I can increase the font, or I'll increase it now itself. Okay. So you can see here, val, let's talk about this later. A is equal to 5 plus 3, and the result obvious is 8. We all know this much of basic mathematics, right? But I need to prove that plus is a function. Okay, someone is there. Like a door and everyone is ringing the bell. Okay, so let me prove this. Let's say plus is a function. And how you call a function? You can call a function by object, right? In Java, object, any object, dot, you give the function name, right? And then what do? You pass all the parameters, whether it's a, comma, b, comma, c. Okay, like this. So if plus is also a function, so can we write in this way? Let's try. And the result, if it's function, then it should work in a similar way. So how we can write it? Instead of obj, you can say 5 dot, okay, and my function name is plus. I will say plus, okay, and then I'll put the parentheses, okay. Then how many parameters? So only one, so 3. Okay, I'll pass this. So it should work if plus is a function, right? Let me try. Yeah, it worked. It means this plus is not an operator. This is a function, and we are calling it like a function, right? So so nothing is an operator. It's everything is under a class, and there's a hierarchy, and there's a class, object, subclass. Clear to everyone? Any question here? Okay. So next thing is Scala is static typed language and inferred. What does it mean? So in Java, what we do usually? We tell, okay, we are going to define in data type. We tell, okay, we are going to define char, float, right? Double, and everything we tell, like, okay, we are going to create this data type. But here it's inferred. So whatever you type, it will automatically understand that, okay, this is what you are looking for. What does it mean? It means that when I say val a is equal to 5, it will understand that, okay, 5 is kind of comes in a category of integer. I'll give integer to it. Okay, and that's the reason when you say val a is equal to 5, it will treat it as an integer. But when you say val a in a double quotes, it will give you a string, right? So no need to explicitly define, no need to, but you can, and that we will learn later. No need to explicitly define that what data type you're looking for, right? Also, let's say you have defined val a is equal to 5, and then val b is equal to string 5, like in double quotes. Okay, so if I say val c is equal to a plus b, what should be the result? So since b is a string and a is an integer, then plus should work like some sort. I mean, what should be the answer? Can anyone help me with this answer? Can anyone help me with this answer? If I have this and this, and if you feel like why we are studying this, it's needed because in most of the interviews question that they start with the aptitude questions, right? So if you know Scala, they put these small tiny questions, right? Okay, I got one answer from Arvind, 5. Okay, any other answer? 3 plus 5. No, it's val a is equal to 5. Val b is equal to string 5. So what should be the answer? C is equal to a plus b, right? So the answer should be, when you are saying 5 is an integer and it's a string, so in that case, even in Java, but you need to explicitly define, when you do this, you get a 5 concatenated with 5. Plus works here as a concatenated operation, perform concatenation. So what does it mean? That if you do 5, 5, it will give you 55, not 10, right? And you can see the string, it's returning string type. C is a string type, okay? So it inferred from whatever you typed. No need to explicitly define the things. It's quite easy in that perspective. Then another things are like semicolon, parentheses are optional. And can we can agree to this point, right? Because I'm not giving semicolon anywhere, right? I'm just writing val a is equal to 5 plus 3 without any semicolon. But in Java, you cannot do that, right? You have to terminate the line of statement with semicolon, right? But you can avoid this. You no need to explicitly define those. Also, parentheses are also optional, right? but that is not true for Python, right? In Python, you need to if there are parentheses, you need to. But here you can avoid parentheses as well. And how can we prove it? Yes, why not? If we say 5 dot plus and these are the parentheses, I'm just ignoring this parenthesis, and that's why I'm writing like 5 plus 3. So these things are optional there. Okay. What next? Operator overloading is allowed. So since as you know that in Java we do not perform operator overloading, right? Like the days when you in a college days when we were learning C from Java, the Java was like we used to learn like, okay, in Java operator overloading is not allowed. But here there's nothing called as an operator, right? So it's everything is function. Everything is function here. So let's say you create 5 plus 3, right? So plus is a function and you're passing 3. And what is overloading? Overloading means with the same function signature, you are changing the number of parameters into it. So let's say you have given sum and you say sum 5, this is 1. Then you say, okay, with two parameters, you say 5 comma 6, okay, with 3 parameters, right? And this is completely, you can do this in Scala. So you can perform operator overloading, or in more precise way, you can say you can do functional overloading in Scala. All right. And it's easy programming to multi-threading. As I was talking about, that Scala provides action-based message passing model that can deal with concurrency. Furthermore, it has event-based concurrency model, as I was talking about Akka framework and all. No need to go on those details because we are learning Scala for writing Spark, right? We are not learning Scala for building any standalone application, right? So it's very, I mean, in Java, when you need to build any multi-threading application or thread safe, you need to perform serialization, serializable, transient variable, and a lot of things you need to take care, right? And then you achieve, then you create threads, multiple way of threads. But these things are very much effective, and it's already provided in the Scala framework. It's very easy to use in terms of when you want to perform multi-threading. Okay. You can use Java with Scala, Scala with Java interchangeably. As I have just discussed right now, that when you create a Java file or you create a Scala file, at the end of the day, everything is a dot class, right? So in a same application, you can have your Java code, you can have your Scala code, and you can use it interchangeably. So it's easy to integrate also. Functional programming, we will understand this in more detail. We have a separate class on this functional programming, but you will see that what functional programming it is and why it is called functional programming and all those definitions in much detail. But as of now, we write Java program based on OOPS concept, whereas in Scala, codes can be written either in OOPS. If you want to write completely in a class object way, you can go in that way, or you can use functional style that we will learn later. Okay. So meanwhile, I am speaking like for half an hour. So anyone has any concern, question? It would be good to like everyone is okay with this. Right? The response will be helpful. All good here. At least you can say yes, and we can move forward because we have just covered the introduction part and the installation part. Yeah. How about other guys like Santosh and other people I'm saying? Yes. Yeah. If you feel any kind of issues in understanding any topic, because I have not started with anything as of now, it's all basic. We have not started anything. We're going to start. Okay, good. So let me just walk you through with brief contents that we are going to cover in our session. This is completely free session. So introduction that we are going to do, that we are doing, and I think we have done it. Then we will learn data types, keywords, functions, class and objects, singleton and companion, string, constructors, case class, function programming in Scala, collections, array and loops, working session. We'll do some working session in IntelliJ, so that will help you in because at the end of the day, with like when in any interview, they will ask you sometime, like very good companies, they ask you to share the screen and open some ID. So I'll try to make you guys more comfortable in writing code IntelliJ with SBT. If you want to try with Maven dependencies, you can do so. So these things we can also discuss. Traits, serializations. I think these are the some 15 topics, and maybe we can add more topics based on the time constraint that we have. Right, these sessions are completely free of cost. Right, you can attend all the sessions, and there's no cost. We'll never ask any money. However, if you ask like for some notes or materials, right, or if you have any questions and clarifications after the sessions, if you want, or if you want to help our team or with some funds, there are some amount with like 5,000 in INR and 100 in USD. You can contribute and you can contact this person, right? So for any detail, you can connect with him. So this is there, but this is only if you need notes from us, if you need some specific discussion on any point or topic or any clarification, or if you want to help us, because whatever we are doing, like even this meeting, it's not on the free version. These are the paid version, but still, where we sometime we need funds. Okay, but yeah, it's totally up to you guys. There's no force. We will never ask for a second time for these things. But yeah, keep in mind for these three things, we look for a few amounts. That would be always helpful. So today, what we are going to do, whosoever has joined this session, I believe Adarsh is also in this session, and I would request him to create a new WhatsApp group meanwhile and share that WhatsApp link in this chat box, so that we will have a separate WhatsApp group for this group, right? And we can continue our session. People who fail to join today, we will not continue with them, because there's no point if these things missed out, right? Or let's see how we can consider in the next session. But yeah, as of now, we are going to create a separate WhatsApp group for the people who joined today. We will try to keep a 1 hour session every day. But yeah, over weekends, maybe half an hour delay. But over weekdays, we will start 8:30 a.m. IST time. And if anyone joining from states, I mean USA, then Mountain Standard Time MST, we will have around 8 p.m. Okay. So let's go ahead, and you will get the link meanwhile in the session itself. So let's move with the another topic, and the next topic should be data types. Okay, and notes, materials, and recording sessions as well. Okay, so if you need these things, we will help you. We do not charge anything, but for the third party, we have to pay something, and that's the reason who create these documents and all. So there we need some funds. Okay, closing this. All right. So our next topic should be on data type, and we have some 15 minutes. Please stop me if I'm going too fast. Okay, just let me know if things are going a little fast. Right, I'll slow down. Okay, so we'll come to our older topic we were talking about, and we are just trying to deep dive into all those syntax in Scala, right? Let's understand this. Scala doesn't have primitive types, and we have discussed enough about this one. Hey, everything here is a class and the object. So what is val and what is var, right? I've started with val, and what does it mean, right? If you know Java, then there is something called as const keyword, and that const keyword helps in defining the constant data type, right? So if you say const of something, int a is equal to 5, what does it mean? You cannot change the value of a at any point of time. You cannot change the value. It will be same as whatever you're writing. But in order to, if you do int a is equal to 5, you can change it with a equal to 6. No issue. This is what in Java. But in Scala, this comes with val or var. Okay. So what is the meaning of val? Val means value. You are declaring a value, and that value will never change. What is the meaning of var? So var is like variable. People who start their work, like recently, in industry, in big data industry, when there are people who started their work without attending any training, right? They usually ask these small questions. What is the difference between val and var, right? It sounds very silly, but most of the time people fail to answer. So this is val. Val means value, and var is a variable. Okay. So let's quickly check this. Okay. So if I say val c is equal to 6, okay, and if I say c equal to 7, okay, you cannot do it. Reason? It's a val, right? Val means value. But if you define it as var, it means variable, then you can do this easily. Okay. So that's the difference between val and var, and we use it the way like it's same as whenever you write a Java program, wherever you need const keyword, or I think final keywords are also there. I'm a little confused, but yeah, those things we use, right, interchangeably here. And if you want to use the same thing here, you can use it. Okay, moving forward, it's the same thing that is discussed here. Okay, so whenever you define whenever you define such things into extend these things, however, at the backend side, everything in Java. Okay, so in Scala, okay, can someone tell me what is the name of superclass in Java, which is a class which is a parent of all the classes? Superclass Java. Can someone tell me what is the name of the superclass in Java? Object. Perfect. So object is the superclass, right? The name is object, but it's a superclass. And then since it follows the same method, everything is same here, so then there must be a superclass in Scala. What's the name? Superclass in Scala, and the name is any. Okay, so like in Java, we have our superclass object. So in Scala, whatever you create, it will by default a subclass of any. Just to give a few more context for the new candidates, let's say for the people who are new to Java. So let's say you create a class called student, right? This class. By default, this class student is a subclass of object. It means it inherits all the property of object. Whatever property, it's the parent of this class, the child class of object. Okay, and object is its parent class. Okay, that's the meaning, like class student. So similarly, if you write the syntax in Scala, by default, it will be a child class of any class, right? We will see any right away. So there are several methods that are by default provided under any class. Okay, and what are those methods? Get class, not equals to, hash, equals, as instance of, equals, hash code, is instance of, toString. No worries if you don't know these things. Throughout a session, you will get to know each and everything for sure. Okay. Now, if you want to learn about this, like any, I always recommend to read everything and verify, cross-verify everything with a documentation of the product. So let's go to any.html. So if you go to this Scala.lang org, there you will see the detail of each and every class that we are talking about. So there you go, right? So Scala is at the top and any. You can read here, class any is the root of Scala class hierarchy. Every class in Scala execution environment inherits directly or indirectly from this class. So any is the superclass here. And further, at the second level of the tree that I'll show you, there are any ref, any val, and nothing that I'm going to show you right away. Okay, so by default, everything is a child class of any. Okay, that's what I said, that any class is extended by, like, there are in the second level, there are a few more classes, which is any val, any ref, and nothing. Any val class is further divided into these categories. So if you can read out these categories, these are Boolean, byte, char, short, int, float, long, double, unit, right? So instead of 8, there are 9, but these are not primitive data type. These are classes, right? And you have, and whenever you will use this, you will create an object of these classes, right? You will not create a variable of these classes like we do in Java. So you can see the first letter is capital. It clearly means it's signifying that these are the name of the classes, right? So let's understand this with this tree diagram, super tree diagram. Okay, so at the top of the tree, it's quite hazy, but I'll read out for you. So Scala.any, Scala is your package name, any is your class name, which is sitting at the top of the tree, right? Any val is extending any ref is extending any. Okay, so what are the val? Any val means some values. So whenever you need to create any object of values, like if you want to create integer value, if you want to create long value, if you want to create float value, double value, short value, byte, boolean, char, unit. And what is unit? If you know, in C++ or C programming language, we use something called as void. I believe in Java also we use void. So when you don't want to return anything, you give unit here, right? So these are some sort of values. But if you're dealing with the class and objects, right? So those will come under any ref category, right? If you create your own custom classes, or if you want to use like string for creating a string, list for creating any list of data type, sequence of data type. If you want to iterate those lists or sequences, you will use iterable. Okay. Scala.null, null is a subclass which extends any ref. Okay. And nothing comes like nothing extends everything, like null also, and it derives any val properties also, right? So this is high level. You can see the entire structure of all the objects, all the given classes that we're gonna use. There are many more that we are going to read one by one, but yeah, this is just a high level tree diagram, structure diagram that we have in Scala. Any question as of now? It's good to ask question or stop me if I'm going too fast. To go here. No question? Good to go then? Okay, we have 6 minutes. All right, so let's start this. I will try to finish this at the earliest. Okay, let's say I want to create something called as a Boolean type data, right? If I want to create something called Boolean means either true or false, 0 or 1. So in that case, what we'll do, we'll just say val a is equal to true. True is a kind of data, right? So you can see true, and then it created a Boolean data type for you. And B, if it's caps B, caps means it's a class. Okay, you can see you will get this. And then next, if you want to create a byte data type, right? What is byte? Just now we read. So bit is the smallest unit, right? And 8 bits equal to 1 byte, right? So if you want to have a smaller data type, like numbers, smaller numbers range between -128 to 127, you can create a byte data type, right? So how to define byte data type? If you say val x equal to 9, it will create integer data type, right? Now this is the time when you need to learn how we can define how to mention the data type, the class type explicitly, right? Till now, Scala is inferring based on your values. 9, okay, it's integer, it is putting into integer category. But now we explicitly want byte, so I'll put a colon here just after my variable name, and I will write here byte. Oh, it's giving me byte now, right? So this is there, okay? But by default, everything is int. Whatever the arithmetic operation that you do is of int type, right? And why I'm saying so? So let's understand this. Val x byte equal to 9, right? And if I say val y of 10, okay, so we have 2 byte data type, x and y. And if I do summation of these two, let's say val c is equal to x plus y, c will return int. Then you can say, oh, I haven't defined here byte, that's the reason. Okay, let me define. What will happen? It fails. Why? Because I'm saying that whatever the arithmetic operation that you will do will always return int data type, right? And that's the reason x plus y is in int type, c byte is your byte type, and that's the reason when you're planning to assign this one, it is failing. Okay, still not clear? We can understand in other way. How? Let's see if I just say x plus y. Okay, I'm not assigning it to anything. Okay, if you're not giving any variable name, this Scala terminal will automatically create a variable name for you, prefixed with res. Okay, and with the counter 0. What does it mean? It means that since first time you have Scala has created the variable name for the first time for you, right? And if you do it second time, then it will be res1, third, so on. The count will keep on increasing from 0, 1, 2, 3, right? But you can see the data type is int, right? So why it is int? I want byte. If you are too stubborn and need, no, I need definitely I need byte type, then there is a function available here called as to byte to do your work, and then only it will create a, since you are not assigning any variable name, it will create automatically for you, which is res4, and then byte is equal to 19. Okay, so this is how you can do your work to do those addition, subtract, arithmetic operation on this byte data type. Okay, next, moving forward, the range is minus 128 to 127. So if you explicitly go ahead and see byte equal to 128, it won't accept because the minimum value is 127 and it will accept 127. So you cannot give more than that because it will treat 120 as an int data type, and this int cannot be assigned to this. These are important when you are when you are going for any aptitude based question in a screening interview, right? Like, Scala, they will give you 10 questions, and there you may get stuck with these basic, because in industry, uh, no one will work around these things, right? Okay, so these things I have discussed. So there is one more way to convert a data type. Like I have used 2 byte. There is one more way. I will take 2-3 more minutes, okay, to finish this, right? So just 2-3 minutes more. Okay. So if I want to do, instead of 2 bytes, I want to use as instance of operator. Okay. I want to use as instance of operator. How does it work? So it's like x plus y as instance of is the name of function, right? And then a big bracket, and then byte. This is also one way. So the question in most of the interview, people ask, what's the difference between two? If you convert through to something, means 2 byte, or you convert it through as instance of, right? I have mentioned a clear-cut definition difference between those two, right? There's a 2 byte and as instance of. So 2 is for explicitly converting any data type to another data type, right? But where as instance of deals with the classes. What does it mean? Is like, let's say you have something called as person, right? So person is like upper class, and then you extend it as a student, and then you say MS student, right? And then say art student, right? So these are the further subclasses into it, right? And if you want to typecast these, right, from let's say art student to student, right? So these kind of casting you can perform, like between the objects, if you want to do any sort of changing the data type of this. In that place, this to function won't work. You cannot, I mean, what you will do, there's nothing called as to student, right? It's only applicable for all the primitive data types like to int, to byte, right? Like that way you can go. But in order to deal between the classes and those things, you definitely need as instance of instead of to, right? So that's the difference, and you can explain it. Where's the dotted line? Sorry, I missed your question. Can you just give the example? What's the dotted line you're talking about? This dotted line? This dotted line? Which dotted line? You write it. All right. So in a similar way, you can create integer data type explicitly. By default, it creates integer data type. So you can see here val num of int type is equal to 9. You will get integer data type. You can create hexadecimal as well by using 0x. So something like this, if you can do val x int of hexadecimal of 12, you will get 18. Okay. However, octa representation is not allowed. So if you do 0, 1, 2, like you can do in Java, but here you cannot do, it will fail because octa is not supported here. But if you want to have this in place, you can use a function called as big int, which supports the same. So if I say like val x equal to big int of, you need to pass 12, and then I think it's 8 you need to give for octa representation, you can still get it. But what is the use of big int? Since integer type has certain limitation, if you can see, it has just 2 1 4 7 4 8 3 6 4 8. This is the maximum limitation of integer data type. But what if you want to go beyond than that, right? If you want like, so if you want to store something like this, something like this is too big, right? So if you want to store something like this, it will fail. It's too large, right? In this scenario, what you can do, you can define it as in the big int. Right? And then you can store all the big values for the arithmetic operation. Similarly, we have a float data type and double. Okay, so we have two more. So by default, like in Java, the default data type, when you do the decimal representation, the default data type is double, right? But if you want to do explicitly, what does it mean? When you say val x equal to 5.0, since you said 5.0, it's a decimal representation, which tells like, okay, it's a kind of decimal representation. So it will by default infer it to a double data type. But what if I want it as a float type? So like in Java, beside any value you put f, here also you can put f and it will automatically understand, okay, it's a float data type, right? So this is one way. Or if you want to go by traditional way, the way we are doing for others, you can put colon and then you type float here. It will work. It should work. Okay. You need to put f here and then you put explicitly float. Okay. And yeah, without assignment, I have already discussed that results will be 1 2 3 to n. And then yeah, this is very important because when you want like something in a decimal representation, right, like scientific notation format, if you want to give, because this we usually see when we work in, like I remember I was generating score in one of my projects where the precision was around 15 18 places, not 18, even it was 32 place, right? So it was something like 4.56. It was like for 36 places decimal, and each and every digit was important. So how you can denote such kind of integer, or if you want to go with a scientific notation, how you can do so? So if you want to, let's say, go with scientific notation, something like 2e2, right? And then since you are saying it's a float data type, so it will declare it as like that. So what does it mean? It means 2 into 10 to the power 2. And f, it means it's a floating point, right? So you can use this shorthand representation as well. Also, if you don't want to give 0 in before the decimal places, it's totally fine. You can do something like this and it will automatically give a 0.73773. These things, these small silly things comes in aptitude questions that like screening exam that people do for the interview, right? So in this way, we have covered two topics. One is introduction, installation, and the data types in Scala, right? Reach out to me for any question, or if you want to go further, we can discuss in it, and I'll update you with the timings. Please do note the WhatsApp link, and if you lose that link, it will be difficult for me or for us to connect with you. So I think others already shared the WhatsApp link. I'm share it again, right? Because I don't know anyone's contact, and I'm not sure who all attended there. So please make sure to go to this link and join this group, right? If you want to go further with these free sessions. Okay. Anyone has any question before we close this session? Okay, so those Himanshu, those dotted line was nothing, but it's just like it's trying to say that we are not putting all the classes here. Like for any val, we have given all set of classes, right? Like char, float, in double, right? So we know that okay, there are some nine. But for any ref, we don't know. We can create any custom classes. There are a lot of classes. So that's why there are ellipses we have used triple dot, which was indicating that there are many more classes which comes under any ref. Okay, I think no one has any other question. If anyone has any question, we can chat further, and we will meet tomorrow, maybe same time or maybe half an hour later because weekend. Till then, bye.